For this practice, let's begin lying down on our back. Be sure to have a strap close by as well as a set of blocks. So we'll lie down here with the knees bent and just have the arms resting on the floor beside your hips. And in this practice, we're going to be working a little bit more with inviting in, elevating the breath, or bringing the breath in with extending inhalation. So hopefully providing by the end of this, just a nice calming effect, but a little bit of elevation of your energy. So as you settle into the floor and prepare for this practice, we begin by taking a couple of long, slow, deep breaths. As you breathe in, you'll feel or sense that the breath starts at the heart and descends to the pelvic floor. And then as you exhale, it ascends back up from the pelvic floor up to the heart center. And just do a couple more of those. And just enjoy watching or feeling the breath in your system. And then move away from a little bit more from the energetic part of the body and move into the physical part of the body. So feel in the center of the heels, the ball of the feet, and the base of the baby toes. And then from here, we're going to elevate the hips up and sweep the arms overhead. And exhale, come down. And then repeat again. And then on these next two, following through the same movement, move back into the energetic part of the work, feeling the breath descend as you breathe in, and then ascends from the pelvic floor back up to the heart as you exhale. Okay, and then we'll one more time come up into bridge. And then let the arms come down, but keep the hips elevated. Take another 2 breaths. Still awareness down to the tripods and the bottoms of the feet. Notice that your glutes naturally activate as you elevate the hips. And our chin is naturally in a bandha called Jalandhara Bandha. And then exhale and relax down. And from there, let's just draw the knees in toward us. And bring the arms out in line with the shoulders just to keep the shoulder girdle remaining on the floor. Gently rock your hips from one side to the other. And this movement can be pretty small here. Just go in a range where you're not dropping the knees all the way to the floor. Just a smaller range, especially if it's a morning practice for you. If it's a morning practice, you want to wake up the body nice and slowly. And just start becoming aware of the physical body. Hips rotating from one side as the ribs remain quiet. Great, and then we'll bring the feet back down to the floor. And then we'll roll to our side. And we'll come up to all fours. And then from your all fours position, we'll we'll go through the Chakravasana. So from here, we're going to breathe in and just kind of retract your shoulder blades. And then on an exhale, we'll tuck the chin back into that Jalandhara Bandha that we just experienced in bridge pose and go back into child's. Breathe in and come up. And then direct the navel toward the back body as you're exhaling, going back into child's pose. Breathe in, and as you come up into this one, maybe feel the breath moving downward again to the pelvic floor. And then on exhale, feeling the energy lift from the pelvic floor back up to the heart center. Breathe in and come up. Now let's come up to that all fours position. And on this next exhale, curl the toes into the floor and move yourself to down dog. Bend your right knee. Still elevating the sit bones high. And then we'll switch. Bend your left leg and allow the right heel to press toward the floor, elevating the sit bones high. Straightening both legs. And move yourself to plank position. So there'll be a little bit of a spreading of the shoulder blades, protraction, and strengthening through the legs. So the backs of the legs are pressing up toward the ceiling. And a little bit of abdominal awareness. And then from here, keep your elbows a little tucked in as you lower to the floor. Chaturanga. Tops of the feet on the mat, and you can just reposition your hands slightly here. Let's breathe in, elongate through the spine, and exhale back down. There's little or no pressing through the hands. They're feather light on the mat. As you breathe up and exhale down. And again. And then this time, we'll breathe up, but then we will put a little bit of weight into the hands, pushing up and then back into your child's pose again. And then from here, we can transition into a standing position and come up to the top of your mat. From here, bring the right leg back. And initially, just place your hands on the hips. I'll do a forward view of that. So you're in mountain pose. We extend the right leg back. A little bit of maybe external rotation in that back leg, which points my foot to that 45-degree angle. And then just start to bend your your left knee. And feeling the tripods of the bottoms of the feet. And then once you've got that movement established, bring the palms out to reach out in front and then spread your arms wide as you breathe in, bend in the knee. And then exhale and pull it all the way back in, hands to heart center. And breathe in and expand. And exhale and bring the hands back in. You can straighten the leg. And now we'll keep the knee bent and we'll just do the movement of the arms spreading wide as we breathe in. And then exhaling and bringing the hands back in toward the heart center. Thumbs rest on the sternum. And then the last thing to consider here, breathing open. is that as you bring the palms toward one another, there's that slight tuck in of the chin again into Jalandhara Bandha. And then on this last one, you might even consider you're expanding and opening. Bring all that energy in and bring it into your body. Take an exhale here, or inhale, exhale here. Straighten the leg and then release the arms. And we'll stand back into mountain pose and just pause for a moment. Just reflect, notice how your body is already feeling. So we'll do the other side. We'll continue to think about different components of what's going on in the body, and physically, mentally, energetically. So I've extended my left leg back this time, a little bit of external rotation, hands to the hips. And then we can just move in and out, bend in the knee. And that knee actually moves inward or outward, depending on what's happening with the leg bone in the pelvis. And so you would probably want it moving a little bit more into external rotation so they're not collapsing in on the knee. So then this time, let's keep the leg, the right knee bent, and then we'll take a different position with the arms. We're going to breathe the arms up this time. And then we'll exhale, sweep them around. So same thing, but just the arms moving a little bit differently. So then the hands come together at the heart. And then we'll breathe and open again. Gently lift the chin at the top of the inhale. And then exhale, sweep the arms around. Again, chin to Jalandhara Bandha, hands to the heart. And then the last component we'll think of again now as we breathe in, the energy descends, or the breath descends to the pelvic floor. And then it ascends back up from the pelvic floor to the heart center as your hands land at the heart and your chin in toward the pit of the throat. So let's do that 2 more times. And then on this side, let's bring the arms back up and we'll stay for 3 breaths in our full warrior 1. Gentle gaze forward or a gentle lift of the chin. Let's let the arms come down. Straighten that front leg and we'll step back to our mountain pose. So let's move the legs wide and let's take an extended side angle. So let's go to the left side first. I'm going to turn my left leg and initially have the awareness around the pelvis as you bend the left knee and build your foundation. So build it from the epicenter of the body and feel the sensations down through the legs, and the left knee is bent, down through the tripods of the feet. And then from here, we'll side bend, rest in the left arm on the left leg, roll that shoulder up, the right shoulder up, elevate, retract, and back down. So you've opened this chest area and bring the right arm across. Inhale here, then exhale, bend the elbow and do just a gentle rotation. And then reach the arm fully across, almost as you're trying to get the arm out of the way so that you have access to the ribs on the right, and breathe a few times deeply there. And the breath work that we've been doing, starting with the breath at the heart, breathing and feeling it descend, and then on the exhale, back up from the pelvic floor to the chest as it ascends on your exhale. And you can just drop that arm down and maybe even look down toward the floor to release any tension in your neck, straighten the leg. And let's return to a mountain pose just so that we can internalize and notice the energy and notice the sensations. Notice anything that might be coming up for you. And then we'll bring the legs back out to a wide stance, and then we'll go to the other side. So think about turning the right leg bone in the pelvis. And as you move into this side, you could even bring your hand to the top part of where the leg feeds into the hip socket and push your leg up that area toward your hand, building that nice solid foundation. Start at the pelvis and feel down through your legs and down through your tripods of your feet, and let the energy come back up through the feet and back up to your pelvis region, and side bend. So now we've transferred the weight. Let's bring the left shoulder blade up toward the ear, retract it back and down, and then let's reach the arm out of the way, gaining more access here into the left side ribs. Take an inhale here, then exhale, bend the elbow, a little bit of a rotation, reaching the arm across. You should be solid in the foundation down through the legs. Side bend is nice, and we've gained some access to bow in the left side ribs. Breathe deeply there on that side. And then you can sweep the arm back. And we'll look down again just to release any tension in the neck area. Come all the way back up and back into mountain. Maybe widen the feet just a little bit, sink into chair. And then last 3 breaths, just feeling the descent of the inhalation and the ascent of the exhalation, lifting up from the pelvic floor. 2 more breaths. Stand up and release the arms down. Right, so let's bring ourselves into a twist. So from the top of the mat, we're going to bring the right leg back. And I'm going to bring a block to the outside of my left foot. And initially, just have your hands at the hips. And you can just hinge on the hips. Just noticing how your hips actually hinge on the tops of your legs. And then now we'll have, so the left leg's the forward leg. So we're going to extend the left arm back. So hyperextend, that is. And then as the arm comes back behind you, I'll stand this way as you can see, we're just going to take the top of the hand and rest it on the sacrum. And then from here, and that block's on the left side, the right arm extends up. We're going to inhale. And then that same hinge at the hip, but now we have the arm extended. Breathe in and come all the way back up. And then we'll go into the forward fold. And then the hand comes across the body toward the block, or you can place the top of your hand on the outside of your lower part of your leg. And inhale here. And then on an exhale, we want to rotate or twist the ribs to the left. Now, if you want, you can play around with that arm extending up. But as you explore that, let's become the awareness piece of our practice, that which one feels more effective. So purpose of the pose is to rotate the ribs. So if I add in the arm up straight toward the ceiling, that kind of puts everything off, and the rotation of the ribs feels a lot nicer and smoother with the hand on the sacrum, then please stay with the hand on the sacrum. And then anytime that I'm coming back out of a twist, I'm going to come back to like a neutral position first. So come out of your rotation or your twist, breathe in and come all the way back up. Bring the arm down and stand back into mountain pose. Take a breath or two before we do the other side. Okay, so from here, we have our right foot forward, left foot back. Block's going to set up on the right side. And from here, we'll do that first initial in and out of the pose, just moving our hips on the leg bones. So you're getting a nice pure movement, that hinging on, or your hips on the legs. And then we can bring ourselves all the way up. And then we're going to bring the right arm to move behind. And the movement here is the arm bone in the shoulder. And then the right hand's resting, top of the right hand's resting on my back. The left arm comes up into extension. Inhale here. So now we're hinging, but we have added onto this by adding the arm. Breathe in, come up. And then hinge at the hips with the left arm extended, come all the way down. And then you can bring your hand to rest on the block. And you can take it to any height that feels good for you. So to know what height is good for you is we're going to keep the spine kind of stretching and elongating as we go into the rotation. So if you're reaching too far forward and you're rounding of the back, you're going to have less rotation. So keep that in mind as you decide what height you want your block. So here we're going to inhale and feel that vertebrae spreading and extending. And then on the exhale, start to rotate the ribs or twist the ribs. Feeling really good. And then you can play around with this arm coming off, reaching up toward the sky. I'm going to bring my right hand back down onto the sacrum, top of the hand. And there for me is where it feels more effective. I know that I can feel a lot more of a rib rotation without my arm getting all jammed up and in the way. And then we'll come out of the rotation first, and then breathe in and come all the way back up with the left arm coming up, and then release it down back into mountain pose. To be feeling really good here. So now let's bring the hands to the back part of the legs. Breathe in here and hinge at the hips, soften at the knees as you forward fold. And just at that latter part of the forward fold, the back and round, And you can take a hold of your big toes. Wrap your fingers around there. Kind of nestle yourself in. And then the elbows can move wide. Elbows bend. Maybe lift up. And then exhale and elbows bend as you maybe can get a little bit deeper into that forward fold. One-to-one breath. And then from here, let's come all the way back up. And I'm just going to change the orientation of my mat here so I can be facing you guys. And we're going to come down now onto our knees. So if you need to set up a little bit of a cushion for underneath your knee, and I'm going to practice what I preach there. You're on a hard floor. It can sometimes not be too inviting to be on your knees. So let's take that out of the equation by having a folded blanket or a second mat on the floor. So initially, we're going to have the right knee on the floor and bring the left leg forward. So it's like a low lunge. I'll just have those blocks there just for a little bit of support. So I'm going to bring my left hand onto the left leg, and then I'm just going to start to move a little bit of movement as the arm sweeps up and come back down. Get that out of the way. And then just a little bit of movement forward. So you're going to stretch through this back leg, hip flexor, and into the quad. And then we'll bring the arm up. Left hand's placed on the leg, left leg. And so we're just really trying to create a little bit of a decent stretch here on this right side. And you might even side bend a little bit to the left. And then we'll bring that arm back down. And then we'll bring the leg back. And just take a moment if you need to just rub the tops of the legs a little bit here. And then we'll bring the right leg forward. Just can use those blocks just to help you get there. And then we're going to bring the right hand onto the right leg. And then we're going to kind of move, shift the hips forward as the arm comes up. And then back out. Okay, and then on this third one, we'll stay with the hips shifting forward. Left arm extended up. And then you can increase the stretch a little bit into that hip flexor and the psoas by just doing a little gentle side bend to the right. Straighten back up. Okay, that felt really good. So now I'm going to bring my mat back around. We'll come to all fours. And from your all fours, just do a few cat and cows, retracting the shoulder blades, and then protracting the shoulder blades, spreading them apart. And then you can tuck the tailbone, and then start to untuck the tailbone, bring the shoulder blades together again. Tuck the tail and spread the shoulder blades apart. And then let's move ourselves back down onto our stomach. And we're going to repeat a pose we did just at the beginning of the class, cobra pose. So from here, lower all the way down and have your hands just in line with your ribs. And soften your elbows or soften your shoulder blades and let your elbows kind of just be free. And not pushing a lot of weight into the hands. We're going to start to breathe in and bring the chest up. And really think about reaching your chest forward so that you're actually creating a little bit of length through the vertebrae rather than height. So you can feel your shoulder blades. Just allow them to be soft or subtle on your rib cage. And there's not a lot of weight into the hands. And you have the hips, tops of the knees, tops of the feet on the floor. And then we're coming up into a nice cobra pose. And let's stay for another 2 breaths. And in these last couple of breaths, start to replay in your mind the breathing pattern that we've been working with. Okay, and then you can pull all the way up into upward dog and move into child's pose or downward dog. Adjust the spine. And we'll bring the knees back down to the floor. Now lower them slowly. Hover them a couple of inches from the floor just so that you activate through the abdominals. A little bit of abdominal work there. And then we'll come back into a child's pose. From the child's pose up into kneeling or hero's pose. And now I'm going to take that same blanket that I had for my knees. I've just kind of made a little bit higher. And I'm going to place my sit bones right in the middle of that folded blanket. And sit upright. Bring the hands to the heart. And then we're going to rotate the ribs to the left. And the oblique muscles, which are these side muscles, will be the power to move you to the point that's appropriate for your body. If you're a little tight through the side body, your rotation is going to be a little bit less. All right, so the next time that we go to the left, we'll bring the left hand behind and the right arm across the body. And then initially take a nice deep breath in, feel the spine extend, create space through the vertebrae, and on the exhale, a little bit more rotation. And then when you've moved into the deepest part of your rotation, let's just take 3 breaths. Remember, we don't want to pull or drag ourselves into a deeper rotation. Go into the rotation that's available. Because if you go into that space that's a little bit before tension, you'll create more suppleness, more openness, more ease. But if you go into the tension, you'll always be in the tension. So by backing off and going a little less, you will actually gain more. All right, so allow the body to come around and take a pause even before we go to the other side. And I would even line this up again. So hands at the heart center so that you're actually moving the sternum and the ribs are rotating naturally. And then we'll bring the left arm across and the right hand behind. And then as I breathe in, I consider there's length in my vertebrae. And then there's an invite to rotate a little bit more without going to strain. And you might notice that you might need to back out of the rotation or the twist a little bit. If you're really in tune to what's going on and you're paying attention and you're really in the experience, you can't go wrong. Listening to the signals and the cues in your body. Move deeper or back off. All right, great. So then come out of the twist again, back to center. Take a breath here. And we're just going to move into a simple forward fold. Just pulling that blanket back a little bit. Getting my sit bones nestled nicely on the mat. Now, remember, as we go into the forward fold, it's not a chin race here. It's hinge, hip hinge. And then we'll bring the arms behind and just take a hold of your left wrist. If you feel like you're just kind of like floating in space, you could add some blocks. And then your head can rest on the block. And then just breathe easily and normally and quietly. All right. And then slowly bring the body up, and then we'll turn and lie down on our back for relaxation, integration. And you may even start with the awareness at this point, just between the eyebrows or the center of the forehead. And as you breathe in, feel or sense the breath moving inward in line with the nostrils. And then outward in line with the nostrils, but coming back to that point between the eyebrow center. You might even notice this breath moving along, just at the soft palate. And then maybe it becomes a little bit less about watching the breath. Just kind of staying in that sort of like center midbrain pulsation, sensation. And then you can also tap into the heart center. And then maybe the mind is either, or the awareness is either at the center of the brain or the heart. And those two are directly correlated. So from here, you can choose to stay a little bit longer in your Shavasana. And if you're moving out now, then just start to move through your fingers and toes and bend your knees, and we'll roll over to our side and pull that blanket back and sit up again in cross-legged seat. Just take a moment to take in the version of yourself now after your practice. And just notice if you do feel a little bit more focused or balanced, a little bit more energized, that the energy is a little bit more elevated, but not too crazy. It's not kind of disturbed energy. It's just kind of soft and energized, but not scattered. In me, there is a light that lights the whole world. It radiates truth, boundless will, action, and knowledge. Namaste. Thank you today for joining me on your mat, and we'll see you at your next practice.